It was real wartime atmosphere, absolutely, because we're quite far into it. We're sort of 42, 43, something like that. And I was in a flat in, believe it or not, Beecham Place, Knightsbridge, London, and with two friends. We were sharing this flat, and we were all doing species of war work. And so I was making, I don't know, parts of inside spare planes, electric parts, and one of the friends, one of whom was a nurse and the other one a nursery nurse, and that was just their wartime occupations. One was an actress and the other one was a writer. And one of them picked up this news that you could volunteer to man. It more or less gave you the idea that you might be doing coastal trade, but anyway, it was manning barges, you know, and doing good things for the war work. And the thing that attracted us so much was that it was on a tonnage rate. That was made very clear that you were no longer going to be part of the great wage battle for life. You were going to be on a boat which would be doing the work, and somehow, however well you worked it, would actually earn sufficient to keep the boat and keep you on the move and do good things at the same time. So we somehow jointly volunteered, but we then had a terrible time getting away from what we'd done, because quite naturally the government, who had probably trained all three of us to do what we were doing, didn't really care for the idea about people jumping about and changing their careers. And I particularly had a really bad time, thought I was going to prison, and was getting excited about that, you know, it would be such an experience. And I mean, I was mad. However, what happened? Oh, I had to go to a Ministry of Works or something like that, or whoever the Labour people were. I had to go to them and see one of their psychiatrists, and something perfectly wonderful happened at this point. That it was sort of found that it said something like, this woman is a pioneer type, and better be allowed to do what she wants to do. Seemed rather strange, but anyway, the answer was I did not go to prison, but I was allowed to go and train for the boats. And that's how it was. I got Kitty Gayford. So in a way, I had the advantage of them, because she was a wonderful experience in herself, as many people have said, and I was deeply devoted to her. I had had a theatre training, a sort of athletic dancing training, so I had no trouble whatever about balancing, running along planks, jumping down and all those things. I wish I could do it now. No. However, that was how we started off, and I suppose down to Ballsbridge with all this overwhelming experience of all the boat people with their sterns into that long lay-by on great rings, where they were getting paint, they were getting ropes, the children were going to school for a day or two, waiting for orders to go down to Brentford or Limehouse. And I can't remember exactly who I was with. I was certainly with Kitty and Miranda Pemberton Piggott, and people we nearly always, as at school, we remember each other, and many tales about who became what, or who still remembered, and who people are in touch with. We're not in touch. In fact, I think we've missed out on this great celebration, because I don't think anybody from the boats from the wartime actually was invited by anybody to appear or represent things during all the great celebrations that are going on, which I think is rather a pity in a way.
It is.
But it may be partly our own fault, because whether the Lamb girls, they now get together, I believe, but we were never a kind of old girls' team. I'll ask her who she is. I'll ask her who she is.
You say who I am.
No, you can't do any of that hair combing. I'm not allowed to do that. Come on, tell us what you're up to and where you've got hooked on this.
Well, I'm Lorna York. I come from a boat family.
Yes.
That go back to 1795.
Oh, wow. You're a historian, you. Yes.
I am a historian, mainly to do with canal boat families. I like to find out the connections between all the families, where they worked, who they worked for, and what they carried. That is my main interest. I became hooked on looking after Sculptor, the boat that we're on at the moment, And I have great pleasure in looking after her and great pleasure in taking her to all the shows where I meet a lot of ex-boat families who are very good to me with giving me information, and it carries on and on and on.
Yes.
And it's a never-ending story, because with all family history, you never really get to the end of it.
Actually. I don't imagine you do.
And that's me.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you go on doing it. I do hope you go on doing it, because I think it's invaluable. I think it's one of the most valuable things that's going on. Because this business is very hard to capture, the business of the people themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of other history is coming on, and we know all about, through Charles Hadfield, about every lock and every company meeting and everything.
This is it. There are a lot of books written about the engineering, about the people that were the engineers. There's not a lot, apart from Sheila Stewart and one or two others that have written small articles. There is nothing really about the people and where they came from, how they became to be on the canals, and why they stayed on there.
No, I think it's fascinating, and you're covering an era not covered at all by Harry Hansen, that man who did get stuck into it.
Yeah.
Is it Birmingham University? Well, I mean, he was one of the Midland University, Manchester. Manchester.
Yeah.
It is, because he's an economist.
Yeah.
But that sort of almost denies the families. That sort of says, you know, they were, well, the families and so on.
Yeah.
And then it's all men, and you feel it's not quite the period to cover it.
It's fascinating, actually. You will find, in my own family, on my grandmother's side, part of the family were from Middlewich in Cheshire. She was actually born in Middlewich in Cheshire. But part of the family stayed in the north, and the other part went south. And they diversified. And the people in the north don't know about the people in the south. They don't realise it's the same family. It's only as you go back and research you can bring it all together
again.
Yeah.
And what are they doing when you've got them all together again? Are they moving onto the canal soon after the building or something like that? You said 17 something, very
1795, yes. Well, actually, that was my 4 times great-grandfather, John Corey. He actually worked for Hugh Henschel, who, of course, was James Brindley's brother-in-law.
That's right. Wow, that is a while.
Yeah, but
that must have been thrilling when you got there.
It was a eureka moment.
I'm sure it was. Wonderfully well done.
You were free. As long as you got the load delivered on time, nobody was sort of at your back.
Yeah. No, you had to go off and sort of do it.
Yeah.
And as the ropes splashed away, as you sort of threw them off the stump or whatever it was, you know, it was a wonderful sensation every time.
Yeah.